Good morning, y'all. It is Thursday, April the 17th, and I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now and pay attention to this, because the severe weather situation unfolding across this country this week has already been serious, and I mean genuinely, significantly serious, and it is not done, not even close to done. I have been sitting here since before sunrise, going back and forth between the model data, the SPC outlooks, the surface analysis, and the upper air charts. And what I am watching in real time is a threat that has been escalating every single day this week and is now pointing its most dangerous finger directly at today and tonight. And I want to be honest with y'all about something before I go a single step further into this forecast. I have been covering this outbreak since it began Monday, and with every new model run, with every new SPC update, the numbers have gone in one direction only, up. The tornado probabilities have gone up, the hail size estimates have gone up, the instability values have gone up, the wind shear values have gone up. When every single ingredient in a severe weather setup trends upward over consecutive forecast cycles, that is the atmosphere telling forecasters in the clearest possible terms what it intends to do. And what this atmosphere intends to do today and tonight is produce widespread, dangerous, potentially violent, severe weather across a corridor that stretches nearly 1,000 miles and puts more than 34 million Americans directly in its path. Let me take y'all back to the beginning of this week for just a moment, because context matters here, and understanding where we have been helps explain the magnitude of where we are going. This outbreak did not begin today. It began on Monday, April the 13th, when the first round of supercells fired across Kansas, Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin, producing at least 14 confirmed preliminary tornado reports in a single night across 4 states. Then, Tuesday brought an enhanced risk across eastern Iowa, northern Illinois, and the southern Great Lakes. Large to giant hail, several tornadoes, damaging winds, a particularly dangerous situation tornado near Union Center, Wisconsin, that prompted a PDS tornado warning and left homes destroyed and roads impassable. Then Wednesday brought another round. The same corridor again, the same communities getting hammered again, with tornado risks highest across Iowa, northern Texas, Oklahoma, and southeast Kansas, and the damaging wind threat stretching all the way through Chicago. Nearly 100 hail reports in the first half of the week alone. Baseball-sized hail documented across multiple states. More than 24 tornadoes already confirmed since Monday night. Y'all, that is the opening act. That is the setup. That is what the atmosphere has already done this week before today's main event even fires. And now, right now, today, Thursday going into Friday, the most dangerous and most concentrated piece of this entire outbreak is arriving. A potent upper trough is ejecting out of the northwest and pivoting into the central plains, and it is dragging with it every ingredient needed for a textbook, fully loaded, dangerous, severe weather day. I want to get into the meteorology here because I think understanding what is driving the escalation makes the threat real in a way that a bullet point list never can. The core mechanism today is the interaction between 3 things happening simultaneously. And when I say simultaneously, I mean they are all converging on the same place at the same time, which is what makes today different from every other day this week that was already serious. The first thing is the upper trough. This is a strong, negatively tilted shortwave digging out of the northwest and pivoting eastward into the central plains today, and it is going to be driving exceptionally strong mid and upper level winds over the target area. We are talking 850 to 700 millibar flow of 40 to 60 knots. That is the engine. That is what is going to generate the deep tropospheric wind shear that makes storms rotate violently. The second thing is the surface pattern. A lee surface low is deepening over the central and southern high plains this morning, and a dry line is going to extend southward from that low through the western Oklahoma and Texas Panhandle border region into central Texas by midday. That dry line is the ignition switch, the boundary where the dry desert air from the southwest meets the rich Gulf moisture streaming northward ahead of the trough, and where the first supercells today are going to fire. The third thing, the thing I want to spend the most time on because it is extraordinary, is the moisture. The warm sector ahead of all of this is loaded with mid and upper 60-degree dew points. That is the moisture content of the air at the surface, and mid to upper 60s in April is not normal. That is summer-level moisture being pulled up from the Gulf of Mexico into a region that still has the upper-level dynamics of a spring system. And when you combine those two things, exceptional moisture and exceptional dynamics, the instability values that result are in the 2,500 to 3,500 joules per kilogram range for ML Cape across the warm sector. Let me put that in plain terms for you. 1,500 joules per kilogram is significant for severe weather. 2,500 is very significant. 3,500 joules per kilogram is what meteorologists look at and use words like extraordinary and extreme to describe. And today we have that sitting underneath a trough that is generating wind shear profiles. The Storm Prediction Center itself is describing as supporting a widespread, aerially extensive tornado risk. That phrase right there, Aerially extensive tornado risk is the one I need every person in the affected corridor to hear, understand, and take personally. An aerially extensive tornado risk does not mean a small area with a high concentration of tornadoes. It means the opposite. It means the atmospheric conditions favorable for tornado production are spread over a large geographic area, and that tornadoes can develop at many points along that corridor, not just in one concentrated zone. The SPC's Day 2 outlook, which is now our Day 1 outlook because we are inside 24 hours, is showing a risk that stretches from the southern plains northward through the mid-Mississippi Valley and into the upper Midwest, spanning nearly 1,000 miles from Oklahoma through Iowa, Missouri, and into Wisconsin. The primary threat corridor, the area I am most focused on, and the area where the tornado and significant hail risk is the highest, runs from northwest Oklahoma and south central Kansas northward through central Missouri and into Iowa. But I want to be absolutely clear. Being outside the highest risk area does not mean you're safe. The aerially extensive nature of this tornado threat means that supercells capable of significant tornadoes and very large hail can and will develop at multiple points along this corridor, and the specific tracks of individual storms will not be perfectly predictable until those storms are already on the ground and moving. Every person from North Texas to Wisconsin needs to be locked in today. Let me walk you all through the timing, because the timing today is critical, and it is something I want to engrave in your memory before this day unfolds. The first supercell development is expected near the dry line in northwest Oklahoma and south central Kansas, and based on the current surface analysis and the rate of destabilization I'm seeing, I expect discrete supercell initiation somewhere in that corridor between noon and 2 o'clock this afternoon local time. Those initial supercells are going to have access to everything: the cape, the shear, the low-level jet that is going to be cranking all afternoon, and they are going to be the most classically organized, most textbook dangerous storms of the day. Discrete supercells in a 2,500 to 3,500 joule cape environment with 40 to 60 knot deep layer shear produce the entire menu: large to very large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. And the low-level wind profiles today, I want to give you the actual numbers here, are showing storm relative helicity values in the 250 to 400 meters squared per second squared range across the warm sector. Anything above 150 is favorable for supercell tornadoes. Anything above 300 is where long track, significant tornado potential lies. We are sitting at 250 to 400 across a 1,000 mile corridor. That is not a marginal tornado day. That is a significant tornado day. Then, as the afternoon progresses and the cold front pushes eastward, the SPC is forecasting more rapid upscale growth, meaning individual supercells merging and organizing into a squall line or linear and embedded windstorm pattern, what meteorologists call a lit du pied, from portions of Iowa southward through Missouri and eastern Kansas. When that upscale growth occurs, the threat character changes. You go from discrete rotating supercells, which are the primary tornado and large hail producers, toward a linear system that is increasingly dominated by the damaging straight-line wind threat. The SPC has been explicit about this. Given the robust instability and very steep lapse rates today, significant damaging wind swaths are going to be possible as this system organizes. Swaths of straight-line wind damage at 80 to 90 miles per hour and beyond are absolutely on the table for communities along and ahead of that squall line tonight. And the system does not stop when the sun goes down. The overnight threat is real. The low-level jet strengthens overnight, the squall line maintains its organization, and communities from Missouri through Illinois through Indiana are going to be dealing with this system in the hours most dangerous for survival, the hours when people are asleep and their guard is down. I have to stop right here and talk about the overnight component directly, because, y'all, this is the thing that concerns me more than any single other part of this forecast. We already know from Monday and Tuesday this week what nighttime severe weather in this outbreak looks like. We already know this atmosphere does not clock out when it gets dark. The overnight severe weather that came through Wisconsin and Iowa earlier this week devastated communities whose residents were asleep and caught off guard. And tonight is going to present that same scenario across a new set of communities further south and east: Missouri, Illinois, parts of Indiana, and Arkansas. The overnight tornado risk for communities in those states is real. It is documented in the forecast data, and it is something I am not willing to gloss over in the interest of keeping this video moving. A tornado warning at 2 in the morning is issued the same way a tornado warning at 2 in the afternoon is issued. The Doppler radar does not know what time it is. The storm does not know what time it is. But the difference between surviving and not surviving a nighttime tornado is entirely determined by whether you wake up when the warning is issued, get to your shelter before the storm arrives, and protect yourself and the people you love. That is it. That is the whole equation. And the only variable you can control is the waking up part. Please, I'm asking you right now, before this storm system arrives, make sure you have a way to receive warnings that will wake you up no matter what. Y'all Call exists specifically for this. When a tornado warning polygon covers your exact location on the map, I call your phone. Not a push notification that your sleep mode silences. Not an app alert that dies because your battery is at 8%. A phone call. The kind that rings and rings until you pick it up. Because that call is what gets you out of your bed and into your shelter in time. $14.95 for a full year of protection. The link is right there in the description below this video. Please set it up before tonight. Now I need to shift to the hail threat because it deserves its own dedicated moment in this forecast, and because it is going to cause significant damage across a broad area today, regardless of whether a tornado touches down near you. The initial discrete supercells firing along the dry line this afternoon are going to have access to some of the most favorable large hail growth conditions I have seen in a major outbreak this spring. Here is why. The Cape values in the hail growth zone, the portion of the atmosphere between roughly 10,000 and 20,000 feet where temperatures are below freezing and hailstones accumulate ice layers, are exceptional today because of those very steep mid-level lapse rates the SPC keeps highlighting. Steep lapse rates mean the temperature drops extremely rapidly with altitude, which means the updraft of a supercell can punch upward with tremendous force, carrying hailstones high into the storm where they can grow large before finally falling out. Combined with very cold anvil temperatures at the storm tops, we are looking at temperatures in the negative 50 to negative 60 degrees Celsius range. The environment for significant hail growth is essentially textbook today. Golf ball-sized hail, 1 3/4 inches in diameter, is likely across a broad area during peak supercell activity this afternoon. Baseball-sized hail, 2 3/4 inches, is possible in the most intense cores across the primary corridor from northwest Oklahoma into southern Kansas. If you have vehicles outside right now and you are in the threat zone, I would encourage you to begin thinking now about where you're going to put them when the storm approaches, because the time to look for covered parking is not when the hail is already falling. It is right now before the sky looks threatening. The flash flooding component of this system also cannot be dismissed, and I want to make sure it does not get buried under the tornado and hail discussion. Even though those threats are grabbing the loudest headlines today, the precipitable water values streaming northward ahead of this system are running significantly above normal. We have been saturating the region with Gulf moisture round after round since Monday. And what that means for rainfall rates when these storms train over the same areas is that 4 to 6 inch rainfall totals are possible in localized areas, particularly across the Ozark Plateau of northern Arkansas and southern Missouri, and along the eastern flank of the system as it pushes into the Tennessee Valley tonight. Those areas are already carrying elevated soil moisture from the previous rounds of heavy rainfall earlier this week. Saturated soil means every drop of additional rain becomes runoff almost immediately. Runoff means creek and river channels fill rapidly. And rapid channel filling on Ozark and Arkansas terrain means flash flooding that develops fast and cuts off roads with very little warning. Please, if you're in western Arkansas, southern Missouri, or the upper Tennessee Valley tonight, watch the water. Watch it actively, not passively. If any road has water running across it, do not drive through it. Turn around every time, no exceptions. Flooded roads are the single most lethal component of severe weather systems like this one for a reason. They look crossable until they are not, and by the time you realize they are not, it can be too late. I want to take a step back for a second and give you all the full picture of what this week has been and what it means, because the framing matters. What we have been living through since Monday, and what reaches its most intense peak today and tonight, is one of the most sustained and geographically broad severe weather outbreaks of the 2026 season so far. More than 24 tornado reports already, nearly 100 hail reports, millions of people under tornado warnings at various points since Monday night, communities in Wisconsin with significant structural damage. And today, this final and most powerful round of the outbreak is arriving on top of all of that, on top of saturated soil, on top of fatigued and on-edge communities, on top of weather services that have been in sustained severe weather operations for 4 consecutive days. The atmosphere is not showing any signs of fatigue. The humans dealing with it are. And that is exactly why I need the Y'all Squad community, every single person watching this video right now, to be the conduit for this information reaching the people who need it most. Not the meteorology following, weather app checking audience that is already dialed in, the grandmother in central Missouri who has not turned on the news today, the family in northeast Oklahoma who thought the worst of the week was already behind them, the college student in Iowa City who has not thought about weather since the last round blew through. Those are the people who need this video shared into their feeds right now. Not later. Right now. Here's what I am asking every single person in the affected corridor to do before this storm fires today. First, know your shelter in practice. Getting there right now, literally walk to it. Time yourself. Know that you can do it in 30 seconds in the dark with no shoes on if you have to, because that might be exactly the scenario you face tonight. Second, charge every device you own to 100% before noon. Do not let the storm catch you at 40%. Third, set up y'all call if you have not already, because the overnight window for this system is real and I need you protected before it opens. Fourth, share this video right now. Post it everywhere. Text it to your family in Oklahoma, in Kansas, in Missouri, in Iowa, in Arkansas, in Illinois. Tell them to watch it. Tell them to take today seriously and tell them the worst of this week is still ahead, not behind. And fifth, stay with me. I am going live the moment those first supercells fire along the dry line today, and I am staying on through the entire overnight event, every step of the way, until every warning is cleared and every community is on the other side of this thing. This week has already been one for the record books, y'all. And the most dangerous chapter of it is the one we are writing today. I need every person in this corridor ready. I need every person watching this video to share it. And I need every person who goes to sleep tonight with storms on the way to have a phone call coming to wake them up. Set up y'all call, subscribe, and hit the bell. I will be right here with you. Stay safe out there. I love y'all.